Mark Morton is joining me today. Now, Mark is a novelist and he has written several nonfiction books, and he is also a columnist for CBC. And Mark, thanks for joining me today. The Headmasters is getting a lot of really good reviews from critics, and sounds like a very interesting concept, dystopian novel. Can you tell me a little bit more about the book?
So yeah, it's a young adult book, and I would say sort of at the older end of young adult, but I think also adults will also enjoy it. And it is a dystopian novel, and it takes place in northern Ontario near a place called French River, kind of in the Sudbury area. And the basic plot is that this, world catastrophe has happened, and it seems like everybody in the world has been killed, except for in this one small community in northern Ontario, community of about 200 people. So they've survived, but it's almost worse than not surviving, because they kind of wake up from being knocked out, and they all have this kind of big bug-like creature on their backs that's kind of burrowed into their backs, and then a couple of little coils into their brain. And that's how they control the humans. They're able to control them for about 18 hours of every day, and then they have to stop because they kind of have to process all the information and stuff like that. So the problem is, how do they get rid of these creatures? And especially given that these creatures can sense if somebody is even thinking about trying to get rid of it. So even if you begin thinking about it, they will kill you. They'll zap you with some sort of toxin. But luckily, as in all of these novels, there's a protagonist. Her name is Maple, and she's got a lot of gumption, um, but she also has one thing that nobody else has, which is that the headmaster on her back once belonged to her grandmother, like 60 years earlier. So she's able to access some of her grandmother's memories and kind of leverage those in order to try to challenge the the headmasters.
Was it a conscious choice, Mark, to have a female protagonist?
Yeah, it was, because I think I wanted to challenge myself a bit. I guess the other thing too is that one of my daughters, I mean, we've got 4 kids and they're all great, but I think they would all agree that one of them, our daughter Roxana, is a lot like Maple. She's kind of fierce and can be defiant, in a good way, stubborn, doesn't give up on things. And so I was kind of modeling Maple on that daughter.
I guess the one thing with dystopian novels, I always feel like if the novel ends on sort of a hopeful note, then it was worth my time. And if it ends, so I know we don't want to give things away, but is there a sense of hope overall with this novel?
Yeah, I think so. Like, to me, what drives the novel and what drives the action and the eventual resolution of the novel um, would be love. It's in that sense, love is the ultimate power that sort of is woven through the novel. Um, so yeah, it ends hopefully. And in fact, when I was writing it, I was also thinking, well, maybe I should construct this so that there could even be a sequel. And I could do that. I haven't started to writing a sequel yet. I have finished another novel in the meantime, but it didn't seem to make sense to start writing a sequel to the Headmasters until I had found a publisher for the first part of it. But maybe I'll get back to it and write a sequel at some point.
Now, you have found a publisher, as you mentioned, and it is a Prairie publisher, from what I understand.
Yeah, yeah, it's Shadowpaw Press. They're a small publisher in Regina. And what's kind of neat is the publisher uh, of that press, of Shadowpaw Press, 40 years ago, he was working at the Weyburn Review, the weekly newspaper in Weyburn, Saskatchewan. And he was going on a choir tour through Europe. So they needed to um, fill his place. I happened to go to the publisher and say, hey, I'm an 18-year-old. Do you think you could be interested in hiring me? The publisher did. So I filled in for Edward Willett, who is now the publisher. So it's just, it's a very, it's funny how things come around. we never know how the connections are going to come back and meet again.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, like I said, and thanks so
Thank
much
you.
for talking to me today. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Leanne. Take care.